Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the first session of our three-part webinar series, Mastering Digital Employee Experience with ControlUp. Today, we are focusing on getting started with ControlUp Decks, and I am so excited to introduce to you our three experts on the topic. We have Michael Schuster, CEO of Farouk Systems, Douglas Brown, Vice President of ControlUp Community, and Clint Justino, Technical Relationship Manager at ControlUp. Doug, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to you.
Perfect. Perfect. So, well, actually, Michael, did you want to talk real briefly about Farouk Systems?
Yep, sure. No problem. So Michael here from Farouk, and we're a North American-based professional services and managed services technology firm with global presence. We specialize in end user infrastructure, which is a term coined by former Citrix CEO Mark Templeton for us. Covers a broad range of end user computing technology and its dependencies across digital workspaces, network and security, infrastructure, and modern work. So essentially, it's an evolution of what we have previously understood EUC to be. We have a 17 plus year history in the field, specializing in enterprise clients alongside commercial clients across pretty much the gamut of all major industries. We're specialized in Citrix and NetScaler, having handled many of their largest global deployments, but we've got exceptional expertise in other areas, including input management and DEX and what have you. So with that, hand it back over to Doug.
Perfect. Okay, great. So let's get started here. So as I always like to say, the agenda is pretty simple. And it's sort of a joke I've been making for, I don't know, 25 years, but it's never simple. So what we want to do is, the way we sort of titled this is Getting Started with ControlUp. And I think probably the best way to get started is, one, define what problems we're trying to solve. And a lot of people, when they think about ControlUp, they'll think of us as maybe a monitoring tool or what they saw us a few years ago, or they don't know anything about us at all. So we sort of want to level set, explain what we're doing, what we're trying to accomplish, get into a bit of automations. We have our special guest, Chris, here, that's going to show something pretty cool or discuss something pretty cool. We're open for your questions, and definitely I'm really looking forward to showing off something we call workflows, so which is quite new. So that said, let's move the slide. Thank you so much. So let's first of all, let's discuss the typical environment, right? I think that any sound engineer, the first they're going to do is they're going to go out and define the problem, right? Define and begin with the problem. So in my opinion, I think everything on this slide here is pretty pervasive across the world. Maybe my knowledge is dated a bit, but what we see out there, I hear it in the community, is a lot of disconnected solutions, no complete visibility, right? And as our world start getting complex, and we start having integrations like ServiceNow and Intune and Zoom and Teams and all these other things, and ERP applications. There's some that we own and many that we don't. We need to, we don't have visibility into those. So it's a problem many customers face. No automations, right? They might have some automations, but they're not automating everything they possibly can, or at least not at the level that they should, or their automations are incomplete. Maybe they're doing part of the stack of the flow, but not at all, because they don't have access to those other integrations, right? So we'll discuss some of this stuff and how ControlUp addresses this. And then, of course, if you don't have visibility into all that, you're not always able to see the root cause, right? And I think one of the most important problems is IT tends to be very reactive, and they don't know the problems that are occurring until someone calls. And then at the end of the day, and I talk to them, a lot of customers say, how do you know your customers are happy? And they say, well, we don't have any tickets, or they're not calling and complaining. Well, not always when you have problems do you call and complain. I never call and complain at help desk. I just find a different way to do it. That starts creating shadow IT that maybe leaves me less productive, or I just don't do something I should. So these are sort of the problems I see that we're facing out there. Michael, is this a fair statement? Is this still reality today? What are you seeing out in the wild?
Yeah, it really does depend on the customer in many cases, but it still seems to be a common theme especially as technologies evolved across enterprise organizations, there's a lot more tooling. And there has been an attempt to sort of consolidate tooling wherever possible, but you still often end up with a lot of tooling that tends to overlap with each other, doing similar things. They may have strengths in certain areas, but maybe they're not particularly focused on, let's say, endpoint monitoring and digital employee experience, or they handle an aspect of it really well, like being able to do application baselining, but they don't lack or they really lack the ability to do infrastructure monitoring. So now in order to make the picture whole, you've got multiple tool sets that now you're stuck trying to correlate the data. So that can get a bit tedious. So unless a customer really actually has purpose-built tools for different domains, it can get a bit challenging sometimes. So we still run across that a fair bit, even in the environments that we have been assessing or we do designs for or whatnot, where there's many cases disjointed sets of tools that customers are trying to make work as best they can, and often they're still left with visibility gaps that are allowing performance or reliability issues, resiliency issues, not being seen, and the organization remains in many cases in a reactive state versus a proactive one, which really does translate into a higher risk of user impact, which is what we're all trying to avoid.
You got it. I agree with that. And when we share something like this, people are like, I know this. We know these problems exist. If IT knows these problems exist, we all know it. Why is it still a problem?
Well, I have to think, but I think there's a few reasons. Number one, there's just often the pain is not big enough, and they've got other things to be focusing on, right? And that's a case for many things in our life, right? If you bring up that hierarchy of needs, if you will, and sometimes the pain and other challenges have not created enough pressure for there to prioritize making a difference and changing things up just because something's not on fire. Especially in tech, we're always dealing with things that are taking higher priority, that have come out of left field or whatnot, and sometimes you just let things simmer and what have you, which isn't particularly great in all instances. And sometimes in other cases, it's just some organizations don't know any better. They've been using a very core tool set for 20 years, and maybe it's changed a little bit throughout versions, but they don't know what they don't know, and that's just the way they've been working. And they just stick with the status quo just because they just don't know any better, and they think that's just the way things are done. And this is how I monitor and proactively assess and do reporting on my platform, and that's just what we run with.
No, I agree. It's perfect segue to the next slide. Uh, Traditional versus DEX. So, along the same lines, Michael. So, I call them traditional tools. You had mentioned that a lot of them they just haven't changed the way they've been doing things, right? They have a tool from Citrix, they have a tool from Microsoft, they have a tool from this, and it's just sort of these traditional tools. So, what is the difference between these traditional tools and DEX? As ControlUp expands, we moved away from that just monitoring and built in the ControlUp One DEX platform. So yeah, what is the difference between traditional tools and DEX? And also, I know you don't like the word traditional, so what do you call it and why?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of calling these tools traditional because at the end of the day, they're still handling core foundational functions. I prefer to call them core. And that part hasn't changed. You're always going to need foundationally things that are monitoring CPU utilization, resource utilization, network latency, disk length, pressure on GPUs, and what have you. Those are just as examples, and obviously there's a lot more metrics, but those still remain core functions that are required of any platform, right? What's changed in the EUC monitoring space itself is where tools vary a lot in their capabilities and focus and integrations. Are they just for VDI and only for certain vendors? Do they cover endpoints or apps, SaaS apps? And some solutions are very infrastructure centric, while others lean more towards being business focused, looking at application and transaction performance and baselining, which is a space that ControlUp excels in. And these are stronger platforms that take underlying infrastructure data, that core data, correlate it with various data sources and presented it in a way that reflects the end user experience and gives IT admins more real context. And that helps connect dots across the stack, from the hypervisor to the apps, all the way to the user's home network, even in many cases. And this makes it easier to get to the root cause faster, and shifting from being more reactive to ideally more proactive in how we operate our user-facing infrastructures, and require less deep expertise to translate those raw metrics I was alluding to earlier into what it actually means for user experience. And a lot of tools now integrate with multiple data sources to help pinpoint issues, and that's great. ControlUp, for instance, of course, does that, and it's got, frankly, one of the broadest set of integrations, not just BDI, but also physical endpoints, cloud hypervisors, cloud, NetScalers, and more, SaaS apps. It's much more versatile in comparison to tools that stay rarely, more narrowly focused is probably the best way to put it.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I agree with you. And it's really what ControlUp is trying to build, right? The ControlUp One platform, where we look at those problems we laid out. We're trying to address all of those with with one solution, right? Appropriately named. And also that very last problem too, that how are our users happy, right? And one of the things we offer sentiment analysis, which I'm unfortunately not going to talk much about, but it's something very close to my heart, because when I was an engineer, I was forced to go out and actually talk to users and see if they were happy or not. And one of the issues I run into when I talk to people about moving to a solution like a DEX solution is the customer will say, well, I really don't care if my users are happy. I pay them. It doesn't matter. What do you, Michael, what do you have to say about around that? If someone says, well, it doesn't matter, we can use these tools that we have.
That's disturbingly toxic. At the end of the day, like the the
That's the
platform
worst.
that, for better or for worse, you're forcing users to use the tools that you have available to do work through, to get work done for the organization. If they're not happy, they may not stick around very long, or the quality of the work is going to suffer. And in many cases, if the platform frankly sucks and it's not being maintained well, or has other architectural issues, or is not optimized in the needed ways, it may ultimately, or actually not may, it will have business outcomes suffer as a result. I mean, we're talking about, especially in the EUI/EUC space, these are the platforms that people are doing all the work on. That's why it's near and dear to my heart, because these are the things that sometimes make the biggest impact, because it's all the systems that users are directly interfacing with. And it's everything that's happening at the edge of that user interfacing with technology. So if you're getting it wrong and not treating it with the respect that's required, the rest of your outcomes throughout the company do suffer. It's a fact.
Absolutely. Branson said it best. If you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers. And that's one of the big pillars of DEX. So, Michael, I have to ask you, what is your definition of DEX? There's so many different views and opinions and definitions. What's your definition of DEX?
Well, I mean, to take more of an agnostic opinion, the definition of it, it's the measurement and optimization of how employees experience digital tools, uh, applications, platforms, and the devices while they're doing their work. And it's really a logical evolution in concept of the core monitoring that we may have been used to, that focuses on infrastructure and user computing platform metrics. It's leveling that data up and adding more context to it.
Perfect. I agree. I'm not going to argue with on that. So we've talked enough. Let's start look into more designing the solution. Let's look at ControlUp One from the architecture standpoint, the big picture piece. Let's get in a little bit of automations, triggers, and then I want to show off something called our no-code workflows, which I talked about a little bit earlier, that I love to write code. But I'm really a huge fan of this no-code workflow. I'm not offended at all that I don't have to write code. I think it's one of the coolest products I've seen in quite some time. So let's go to the big, huge slide here. And this is a really biggie. And there's a lot of really neat stuff here. So let's start with looking at let's start at the top, right? In short, the ControlUp architecture is our goal is to ensure that you can manage and optimize all of IT, right? Really address those problems that we discussed earlier, from the cloud to the from the cloud to the endpoint in one unified thing. So we have a bunch of different technologies and products in this ControlUp One platform. So first and foremost, on the very top here, you can see ControlUp for desktops, ControlUp for apps, and ControlUp for VDI. ControlUp for desktops is one of our newer solutions, although it's been around for a few years. And this is where you really monitor and optimize the physical and the virtual desktop. So all those edge devices out there, we understand that not everything is running on, an EUC platform, a Citrix, a Microsoft, a VMware. A good chunk of your estate is still and will always be on edge, right? So we need that big picture there, right? But also virtual desktops, things like cloud PCs that, we, even though it's virtual, we still see that as an edge device, right? ControlUp for apps, where there's, again, so many applications out there that we don't have access to, Salesforce, Zoom, maybe Zoom can teach me, maybe ControlUp One can teach me how to present and see my speaker notes. I don't know, I don't think so. But anyway, I digress. So we can dive into, into the actual app itself, and then ControlUp for VDI. That's ControlUp as you might know it. That's the Citrix piece, the EUC piece, right? And that gives us deep application performance insights, soup to nuts for those remoting applications. Clint, I have to ask you, so if someone's new to ControlUp and they want to get started, what is that like? We're a SaaS solution, so it's not download, clicks, next, finish. How do they get rolling, if they just want to test this out, kick the tires, and of course, purchase it?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can first start to go to controlup.com/free trial. They can also talk to their CSM or TRM, such as myself, and then we'll get on a kickoff call and I'll ask them some design questions to get a better understanding of their VDI environment. So we can spec out the monitors and data collectors that are needed for their environment. That's really imperative. So we want to make sure we're able to support the resources. So a smaller customer that has 500 VDI, for example, we may recommend 2 monitor servers running 4 CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, while another customer that has 2000 VDI, we would recommend, say, 3 monitors running 8 CPU, 32 gigs of RAM with 2 separate data collectors. So we're able to support all those data sources. And then from there, we'll provide some prerequisites like a service account that would need like read-only permissions to their vCenter and their EUC environment, whether it's Horizon or Citrix. We recommend using an AD security group for admin permissions, and a service account that ControlUp can use, just so they're more secure and everything like that.
Makes sense. Perfect. So ControlUp is also very proud to say that we support about every kind of work scenario and almost every type of device. And if we don't support it, we're adding it. And I know Clint will probably interrupt and add one that I always forget, or well, I don't always forget. It was just recently announced, right? So we support Windows, Mac OS, iGel, Chrome OS, thin clients, and Clint?
Amazon Workspaces.
Amazon Workspaces was just added, and as they, as we get customers, we add them if we don't already have them. But I think we have about everything out there, which is quite cool. So, and of course, we do BYOD, which is very important. As there are, BYOD, or maybe your mother-in-law's house or that hotel, or what have you, a different work environment where we're still able to give visibility into that via very flexible agents and integration within those environments, possibly too. For SaaS and web apps, we have integrations, tight integration into Microsoft Teams, Zooms. We collect performance data directly through those, which is just really huge. So it can gives us deep insights into exactly what that user experience is experiencing for those particular apps. Zoom, we have so many success stories around that.
And Azure, very popular, Azure as well.
Absolutely. So Doug, I'm Doug. So Clint, anything to add around client support? You mentioned Azure, anything else?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Doug. You hit everything on point.
Perfect. Perfect. So also our data collectors, our data, our collection of data is multi-layered. As you see over in the right section of this giant slide here, you can't see my monitor or my mouse flipping around, but we leverage desktop agents, VDI agents, synthetic tests, browser extensions, vendor APIs to get that complete picture, right? We have cloud hives that monitor SaaS applications. We have custom hives that monitor into your on-premise infrastructure. Clint, can you talk a bit about our monitors, how that works, how that's and then the scalability of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the monitors for VDI, they monitor the data sources, and you can have multiple sites that they can communicate with one another. But recently, we launched that independent sites. So not all the sites depend on one another. So say like if one site goes down, the other one can still support the other site. They don't go hand in hand. And we always recommend multiple monitors just for high availability. Um, and that's how we usually spec them out. This for safety and security, and then for failover.
Perfect, perfect. And on the EUC side, we support everything. Omnissa, Horizon, old VMware, which is Omnissa, Citrix, Microsoft. We support it all, right? We monitor that entire chain. That's our bread and butter. That's what we've been doing since day one. From the endpoint through the gateways to the workloads, also the hosting providers across multiple sites, you name it, it's there. And you sort of, well, I can't point to it, but it's right in this area right here, in the middle over there on the side, or the side over there. So yeah. So that said, Clint, one of the other things is yeah, we're also very scalable and secure. Clint, can you add anything around security? It's definitely an important piece with the customers. And what are the best practices for securing it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we use conditional access policies, MFA, two-factor authentication. We're SOC 2 compliant, FIPS, CSA, and we're currently working on getting FedRAMP certified. So that'd be a huge win for us soon.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. So let's flip slides and let's get into and start discussing this big picture here. And automations and integrations. And this is something I really love because this is really at the core of making IT faster, smarter, and more reliable, right? And like I mentioned earlier, there's a few people out there that customers that do a lot of automations. They're extremely successful, and there's few that do a few and can definitely do more. So let's talk a bit about automations at ControlUp and what all this means. So first, there's really three components to an automation. We have triggers, integrations, and workflows. So triggers are how we make workflows responsive. They can start from a real-time event, run on a schedule, be kicked off manually, or even via external API, right? And then an integration, I think that's really where the magic is. That's the most important pieces. And this is our integrations into solutions like Windows 365, ServiceNow, Zoom, Intune, Citrix, all these different external devices to allow us that workflow to be inside our company, and then outside our company, back into our company to connect what I like to say the unconnected, right? And then we
And
have
Dell
the
too,
workflow.
as well. If I want to throw
I'm
in there.
sorry?
Dell as well, grabbing that data,
Absolutely.
warranty info.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think we actually even have Dell in one of our example workflows,
Mm-hmm.
Clint.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very important. So and then workflows themselves, and this is where the magic happens. We chain together multiple steps, logic, data processing, and integrations into a complete end-to-end process. So and then we might even add a little bit of AI. So let's talk a bit about that. So let's talk about triggers. Triggers is really the heartbeat of any automation, right? Yeah, they detect the critical events in real time and instantly take action. I will rephrase this. What they do is they spot a problem and they start the process of solving it. That is what a trigger is at the heart. It's very straightforward. You can choose from a variety of different triggers we have. from things like stress level, a computer going down, a process is started or ending, and then you can take, then you can take action, right? Once the event type is chosen, then we'll actually go and we'll move to doing something with it. Clint, you have something really neat around triggers you can share, can't you?
Yes, so we recently we have trigger packs that triggers is custom triggers that my team and I created just to get more visibility of your environment, whether you're Horizon shop or Citrix shop, or if you want some general triggers, you can import them into your environment and you can start using them immediately. Some examples can be, say, if a machine has low disk space, you can be alerted, and then if you want to tie the script action to clear out that disk space, for example, that's a popular one. Or users that are logged on or idle for a certain period of time, you can be notified and then you can force log off those users. A Horizon example, say if a machine is agent unregistered, it's a popular issue with Horizon VDI. You can be alerted, and if you want, you can tie a script action to reboot that bad machine, say after 15 minutes. And same thing for Citrix. If it's an unregistered machine, you can be alerted and schedule a reboot for that.
Perfect. Love it. This is something I really want to show, and I wish I could poll you guys and see how many of you checked out workflows. It's something we released at the beginning of the year, but we actually did a massive update just not long ago, a month or so ago. And this is really our no-code automation engine. So first of all, I love scripts. I love to write code, as I've already discussed. I think you give a person a compiler, they can change the world. But I understand that code is not always for the masses. There are issues with it, and it's not always the most easiest thing to do. What I love about ControlUp, about a workflow builder and what we're building here, that it's really all that we get from code, but easy, powerful, and viewable. You can see exactly what's going on just by looking at the flow. So you can look at the one on the right here. You see a bunch of neat things going on. We have ControlUp, we have Intune, we have Slack. Imagine when you have a workflow that then triggers off and says, hey, informs that user, we know there's a problem, we're going to do something. It doesn't just send them an email they ignore, it direct message them directly into Slack, right? Or maybe Teams or what have you. So this is sort of what workflows is. Let's dive a little bit deeper. So when you first open up ControlUp workflows, you'll be taken to the overview page. Now, the first time you open it up, this will obviously be empty, right? But as you start adding workflows, as they start running, and over time, this thing's going to start, filling up. So you'll see things like all your flows, if they're successful, if they're failures, right? Or if they're pending. You'll see what triggered them, right? Was it triggered via a manual action or maybe an API? Right? And then you'll see all your flows. You'll see, again, if they're successful over the period of time. It sort of looks like all my flows were successful, although I wake up before that, but that's almost like, well, not two, it's more like that. But anyway, so, and then you can dive into your top flows. Basically, you see everything that's going on, and then you can dive down and take action. And when you to look at our workflow builder, when you start up a flow, the first thing you need to do is be brought to a page like this. And this is probably, most of you out there have probably seen a visual drag and drop canvas workflow type of builder. And this is what we're building here. And in there, you'll have, what we call, to build that flow, we have what you call nodes. And there's 4 types of nodes. We have triggers, we have actions do something. We have logic, think of them as conditionals, right? And then we have integrations. We've talked about a little bit, but I'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide. And then we wire them all together in a flow that works for you. We set it, and I wouldn't say forget it, because we don't have to forget it, because it'll come back and inform us, but we let it do its thing. We check our dashboard for statuses, and of course, if there's any issues, we'll be informed, right? And then integrations. And I think integrations is one of, as I've always said, one of the most important pieces. We're really connecting the unconnected. As I mentioned, imagine that, you can go and create a workflow that if this, if their CPU is high, let's just throw something like that. Let's shut down this thing, inform all the users, contact this admin, email this person, set off a trigger to create a support ticket. You can do all these different things, and it all starts with integration. So as you can see on the right, we have, here's just a handful that were just on the very top, right? Things like Excel, ServiceNow, ControlUp, yeah, Teams, you name it,
Dell's
right?
a popular one too, if I can chime in, Doug.
Yeah,
So
please.
I'm working with some customers that they want to get the Dell warranty life status on multiple devices. So using the Dell API key, we can integrate it and see when devices are out of warranty or they're going to expire. So this lets them know ahead of time so they can do refreshes and battery replacements. So.
Perfect. Any other integrations you really like? But do you have a favorite?
That's a good question. Probably right now, I would say the AI piece, the AI use case, like the analyze ServiceNow ticket and send a summary email. So it can review all the details of the ticket, it analyzes the data, and then it'll draft an email and send it to you via Gmail. I think that's my favorite one so far. But one of my favorites with a customer I'm working with currently, they want to know if a certain site goes out like a power outage and they can be alerted if multiple devices go offline. So I think that's a really cool, unique one. And they've tested it with success, and maybe one day we'll add it as a template for other customers to use when they have multiple sites.
Well, Clint, you just set me up. I mean, you talked about two things we're going to discuss. I absolutely love it. So templates. And this is something I love because you think to yourself, how do I get started with this? I don't know what to do. Or maybe it would be nice if I had an example that I can build onto it. And this is what we have, is we have a bunch of templates out of the box. And Clint, can you talk more about templates, please?
Yes, absolutely. So templates is just to help you get started, depending on the type of use case you're trying to adjust. So, for example, automated user offboarding, right? If someone leaves the company, you want to run that script, disable privilege accounts and stuff like that. But you can reverse it. What if it was someone that's brand new? You want to bring them in. You can do the onboarding, which is pretty cool as well, just to help, create the new accounts, maybe ship them a device to their address, send them some swag. I think that'd be pretty cool. The Dell device one I was talking about, that's a popular one. And the Analyze ServiceNow ticket and send a summary email. List application secrets, that's a popular one too, because sometimes people forget, right? You set up a particular secret and then 6 months goes down the line, then it expires. And then you're like, hey, how come I can't connect anymore? Well, this will at least alert you ahead of time before that happens.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Clint, you also mentioned AI. And again, you got ahead of me, and I absolutely love it. So we're going to discuss that AI piece of workflow in a second. So the big question is, so now we know the problems. You understand a little bit about ControlUp and what we do, the big picture of our different components and the pieces, what they address. How do we quantify success? How do we know if our users are happy, right? And then how do we set ourselves up for the future, right? So first of all, the AI piece, and actually it's good because Clint, you had brought that up. So I really love that. And if you look at that workflows, the very top piece was AI. And we can do so much just today. Now, AI is brand new. We're just starting to integrate it within ControlUp. I actually did a video on this that I shared within the ControlUp community about how we're leveraging AI, both from a development standpoint, from an operational standpoint, and from a within product standpoint. But just one of the first things we can do is within workflows. And you see some of the stuff on the slide, right? So we can analyze logs. You can spot root causes instantly. We can create emails. We can send alerts and confirmations automatically, right? We can create reports, turn data into clear summaries, like Clint sort of mentioned, right? Device lifespan. We can predict hardware replacement needs. It's so powerful, right? Extract data. We can pull data from messy text and send that out to the appropriate party, right? Or the appropriate service, right? We can summarize text. You get tons of stuff out there. and we can summarize all that and make it palatable for whomever it's being sent to. And ticket analysis, so, we can auto route and suggest solutions. And one of the things I thought was sort of cool too, and I have it up here on the slide, is to generate text. Is actually draft a KB article too. It can make the basis for the solution and trigger that off to a human. They can make sure that it's correct and then post it on their knowledge base. How quick is that? How proactive is that versus reactive? And that's just sort of the beginning of bringing AI into ControlUp. And we're right on time, and I absolutely love this. I'm super excited to bring on Chris. Chris joined our company, joined ControlUp in January, and he has made such an impact on what we're doing, what we're bringing to market, and we're so happy to have him on board. One of the things he created was something called the ControlUp Innovation Guild, and this is very close to my heart because what we have is a bunch of people that love ControlUp, that breathe for automations and dashboards and integrations and new ways to use the product to make it better. Chris brought all these crazy folks together into his little guild, and all these guildies are creating something special. So Chris, let me turn the floor over to you, and maybe you could talk a bit about the Innovation Guild, maybe a little sneak peek into this dashboard builder thing you're doing.
Yeah, so hi everyone, hope everyone can hear me. I'm Chris Triest. I work as the Solution Innovation Manager at ControlUp, and my job is to lead the Innovation Guild and to make cool stuff. So what we actually do with the Innovation Guild is, our goal is to answer customer questions, like customers can be like, oh, we want this or that item and we want to do it with your product. But sometimes we cannot, you know how it is with software, right? You cannot do everything at once. So sometimes we cannot do something with the product yet. And that is where the Innovation Guild comes in. We listen to these customers, we listen to you, and we take, and then we're going to look at the product and be like, okay, but how can we make it work? What can we do? So the things that we release are then less integrated into the product, but you can use them today instead of tomorrow. And it's up to you. Do you want to use it today, or do you want to wait until it's in the product? So examples of this are, we have started creating the disk monitor, which is a really, really cool tool. It monitors every write that's going to your disk 24/7. It's like running Procmon on your disk, but then the whole time as a service without the huge performance loss. So Procmon takes a lot of performance, and our tool doesn't take any performance. But this allows you to, for example, if you're using Citrix, it allows you to see what's inside or what's being written to your caches. So if you're using non-persistent images, it shows you what's being written to your PVS cache or your MCS cache. If you're using a laptop, it might show you, we have written 10 gigabytes to this log file because you have turned on verbose logging on an application. And the cool thing is, the log file itself doesn't have to be 10 gigabytes. Remember that. And the developer can set a limit on a log file. It can set like, these log files cannot be larger than 10 megabytes. And then you see your disk spinning up the whole day. The whole day your machine is busy, writing. You'll run 3 sites, for example, and you cannot find where those writes have been going, because they're going to a log file that's recycling itself the whole time. So it can write 10 gigabytes a day to that log file, but its log file itself is 10 megabytes. Our tool is the only tool in the world that would catch that without the performance loss. You can just run it the whole day and you can find out what's being written to it. Another cool thing is what we're doing with the disk monitor is it can also be a Nostradamus tool. It can show you stuff before it happens. Because if stuff happens on your computer, for example, a Google Chrome update, it's first written to your disk before it's updated. So we are working on a dashboard where we're monitoring like, do we see Google Chrome updates being downloaded, being written to disk? So you know what's coming. You know the next time a person restarts their laptop or restarts Chrome, it's being updated. So that's really cool, the insights into that. We are now busy almost releasing, we're almost there to release our next version of the disk monitor that will also include FS Logics and Citrix UPM monitoring. So giving you this high insight into what's being written to your FS Logics disks, which is always a nice big thing. Making their performance better, making sure they don't grow that large, is some top priority. So yeah, so that's something that the Innovation Guild has done. The other thing that we have been working on a lot, and that's why I'm coming to the dashboard, is we have built a lot of extra dashboards on Grafana. So we have a really great API we can utilize to generate all kinds of information. And we can take that to a platform like Power BI or like Grafana. And what we have done in the last couple of months is build some Grafana dashboards out for you to just download and get. If you want to use them today, you can go to the ControlUp Download Center under the Innovation Guild tab. There's also where you find the disk monitors, also where you find some Grafana dashboards, JSONs you can just import and use. We have a really cool AI report. We have a cool scripting report. We have a cool big screen dashboard for a service desk. And that's all really, there, it's out, it's cool. Yeah, and what Doug is talking about now is the next thing, like bringing it back to the product, right? So yeah, if you want to use it today, you have to use Grafana, but what about tomorrow? You know, what if I want to have a dashboard that the Innovation Guild built in the product without installing anything? What if I want to build my own dashboard? And that is what we are now really hard working on, to make an in-product dashboard builder that will allow you to make elastic search queries on all our data without the need of code. So it will be a no-code elastic search builder in which you can create awesome widgets. At this point, it's so new that the prototype that we're running, that I cannot share my screen or show screenshots yet, but they are coming. They're coming fast. We are hard at work. We have a running prototype, and that will allow us to do even way more. And a big part of that dashboard builder will also be shareability, meaning you can share dashboards with other customers, other colleagues. You can even share widgets. So we'll have the ability to export and import widgets.
I think that's a game changer, Chris.
Yeah, I know you have probably seen the prototype run already. So yeah, good. That's good feedback.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really neat what you're building, Chris, and the feedback is absolutely great. You know, and you mentioned sharing. It's one of the things I wanted to bring up, is that both the templates and these dashboards are customizable, but also shareable too, right? And I look forward to the day we have like community templates, community dashboards, maybe even contests, right? So if you build a really cool dashboard or a really cool workflow, share it with us. And if it's really cool, we'll send you something really cool, right? So it's really beautiful what you're building, Chris. Anything else?
We're working on a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff from the Innovation Guild, and you can always go to our ControlUp website. We have a section there also about the Innovation Guild where you can see what we're working on, what's still on the roadmap for us to do. So I would just say go there and keep an eye on us.
Absolutely, and definitely inside the ControlUp community, you can also join a Innovation Guild channel and stay right up to date with these guys. Michael, are you still around? I have a question for you. So we've shared these no-code dashboard, right? The no-code workflows. How do you feel about these no-code dashboards? What value do they bring to your customers?
Well, I mean, for those that know a fair bit about the EUC tooling that's available in the field right now, there's a bunch of products, a bunch of competitors, but other than its broad capabilities in terms of what it supports and what it integrates with, ControlUp is one of the ControlUp's key secret sauces is bringing in and has been bringing in those automation tools. Workflows is a great add-on. No code things, great add-on. At the end of the day, anything, whether it's AI or these workflow tools or automations, anything that can help get us from A to B faster in our lives is a winner, right? Whether it's AI for summarizing complex data sets, correlating data to find meaningful data points and what's causing a problem, a root cause or whatnot, especially before it becomes a bigger issue and users start complaining, is a winner. We owe it to ourselves to responsibly reduce that work in progress when we're working on tickets or issues in our environments or routine processes, or we know there's issues that happen on a server. So we got a crackly application and we can create automations to quit it and load it back up. That's a key winner. And the same thing with the no code thing. Anything that we can do to reduce the manual effort that we might have to be engaging in as administrators just saves us a ton of time. We can make ControlUp our Quizax Hatteract and shorten the way, if you will, which is, that's where we want to get to as administrators at this point in time. We've just got so many things on our plate on an ongoing basis. Our jobs have only gotten more complex. Anything that we can do to start automating and developing workflows that help us reduce the time it takes to work on things allow us to focus on more higher priority issues and make a bigger impact with our employees and with our work.
I love it.
So in
Absolutely
short,
agree.
yes, what I mean to say is yes.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Hey, Chris, thank you so much for sharing this with us. I really love what you're doing. Michael, anything else to add? It sounded like you wanted to say more.
I could always say more, but I also want to make sure that I keep people paying attention and not tuning out.
Perfect. So we'll get to Q&A here, but before we do, to get started and continued learning with ControlUp, from the of course, head out to ControlUp.com. That's natural, right? But we have a bunch of great places for the technical people, the people using the product, right? First and foremost, we have a phenomenal academy filled with, and our trainers are some of the best around. I really love these people. They're just great. They have personality and they really, really care about you. They have something called office hours where you actually sit down with them on a one-on-one or small group basis and ask them questions, and just really neat. We have a great knowledge base. We just upgraded the platform that's on, and you can actually follow it and get informed when there's something new, which I really like because I'm busy. I don't have time for that. So when it comes to me, that's a great thing, right? We have great support. If there's any issues, we have a status page which keep you informed on what's going on, if the services are down or what have you. And my part of the company, the most important piece, I think, in the entire world, and that is the community. And our community our idea there is real simple. And it's we're trying to create a place for you, a place where you can go and learn, you can see what's coming soon, you can see the betas that are even out, you can ask questions. We have co-founders. So we have one of our co-founders is in the community and answers and talks daily. We have our product managers in there, our professional services, our SC. It's all technical for technical by technical, right? And I hope you'll join that. So controlupcommunity.com. And then, of course, if you have anything at all that you ever need, just email me, db@controlup.com, and I will make sure you get answers. If I can't do it myself, I'll find the right guy. I'll send it to Chris. It'll all get done. So, or Clint, and it'll all get done, right? So, and of course, if you need anything at all, there's not many people and not many companies out there better than Froke. So email, this is not right. We actually changed this URL. It's hello@frokesystems.com. That's am I right, Michael? Is that right?
Got it.
Perfect. So in questions. So do we have any questions out there?
Well, Doug, why don't you go ahead and take it away with one of yours? I know you had a couple you wanted to ask Michael.
Well, perfect. So, the workflows, Michael, that's a big one for me. That's something I really love. And I think that it's just so powerful, right? You can see it, you can feel it, you can act it, integrate, blah, 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 blah. So how do you feel, how can workflows prevent issues before they happen? Which,
Well, if you are able to, if there's a recurring pattern or whatnot, and you're able to actually identify events that are leading up to that, parameters or whatnot, you could essentially configure and kick off a workflow to take remediative actions before something becomes an issue, right? So if there's a metric that's starting to go a little haywire and what have you, and that's usually a key indicator that a particular process is going to crash, you could take preemptive actions to do something or whatnot. Clint, you have any suggestions on that or any
I
insights?
do. I was going to piggyback off that. So I have a customer, they're doing application baselining using Power Automate, and they're trying to get it into workflows. So if they make a change like a Windows update or an Office update, they can see if the data is actually changing, and they can tell like, hey, this recent update we just pushed, now the application is not acting as smoothly. So just to help get that visibility, I think that's a great use case. You can use it as an example for workflows.
You got it. You got it. Here's one for you, Clint. So, do you have any best practices for starting an automation? So they're thinking, hey, we want to, where do they start? Yeah, leave it at that.
Yeah, so what I would do is like, what are your top 5, 10 common tickets that you receive on a daily basis that you're trying to address, that you have to address manually? From there, I would try to work on setting up a trigger so you can be alerted, and then work on setting up an auto action. Like an example, send a toast message to a user that their Wi-Fi signal strength is low, or run a script action to clean up this space, or log off the idle session, just to free up some resources. So those are some examples that I would get started with. Check out the top tickets that you're getting on a daily basis that are manual that you have to engage in, and see how you can automate that.
Perfect. Chris, if you're still there, I have a question for you, actually. And that
Yeah,
is,
of course.
yeah, so the disk monitor, and where do they get it, and how do they get this thing up and running in their environment?
Yeah, so the disk monitor is a public download. Everyone can download it. It's on the download center of ControlUp under the Control Innovation Guild tab. It is an MSI. It is an extra service that you're running. That is the whole thing with the Innovation Guild. Like if you want it today, yeah, you're running a different extra service on your machine. The service is signed by ControlUp, by the way, and the code is checked and everything, so it is safe to use. But yeah, and then that will gather data locally on your device about your disk. And then we have these analyze scripts in ControlUp for VDI and ControlUp for desktop that take that locally gathered data and analyze it for you and make a nice report like, oh, these were the top 10 things that had the most writes to it. So yeah, that's at the moment. I can share with you guys that we are actively working at the moment on also bringing the disk monitor into the agent, but I have no timeline on that yet. It will be a bit later. But yeah, if you want to use today, it is a separate service that you can install. It does also allow silent installation, so you can push it with Intune and whatever to a large group of devices.
Perfect. And Michael, and all three of you, I have one last question. We have a minute left. So, what is the quickest way to get started with ControlUp?
Call Clint.
So,
Yeah, I was going to say,
hopefully,
controlup.com/free trial, or you can schedule a demo just to see it in real time before you get started.
Michael, you guys, probably call you, right? Call Farouk Systems,
Yep.
and
It's true.
yeah.
Yeah, we've got professional services practice and a managed services practice that's actually built all around ControlUp. So it's a great place to start.
You bet. And Chris,
Okay,
what's your view?
I'm taking away. Don't call Clint. Call Michael.
That's right. Call
That sounds
Michael.
even better. Yeah.
No offense, Clint, but we're going for Michael here.
Everyone has their own path.
Everybody
They're
loves
gonna
Yes.
go
Michael.
along where they are.
And my view is you join the ControlUp community. So, you head over, you download sign up for the product. You head over to the ControlUp community. If you have any questions at all, we'll definitely answer them, or we'll try, or we get you connected to the right people. So, everyone on
Mike-
this call is in the ControlUp community, and it'll only get better. Or,
If I
and
might-
many.
add one
Please.
last thing about that, about community. So that next version of the disk monitor that is gonna also include FS Logics and UPM monitoring will be a community version. So you won't have to be even a customer of ControlUp. If you just want to use this from ControlUp, it's free to use. That's also a nice gateway to just try it, see what we can deliver, see the immense view we have on your disk and stuff and how well we make this, and then try the whole demo out, try the whole suite.
Yeah. And what I love about what Chris is doing is just a start. You know, these are just a start. They come up with an idea, they try it out, it's a success. Now it's in core product. So guys, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I hope this is useful to all you watching. And I thank you all for taking the time to attend. And Clint and Michael and Chris, thank you so much for spending for doing this with me. So yeah. Right
Always
on
a
time,
pleasure.
I think.
Welcome.
That's valuable. Hope it was useful.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
me
you
too.
all for joining. We really
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and we look forward to seeing you all at session 2. Thank you so much.
We're doing. Take care.
Thanks,
Take care, all.
everybody.